Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. Thank you for all of you to come from Lansing and from farther away. Thank you for being here today. How is a 27-year-old running a grandparents project? And you might think that that is a little odd, and to be honest, sometimes I find it a little odd as well. I was at a grandparents conference in Texas almost 2 years ago, and it was attended by 1,000 grandparents from all over North America. And it was really funny because I would be walking on the hallways. I was by far the youngest one there, and people would stop me and be like, "Please tell me that you're not a grandmother." And that was quite funny, and it actually allowed me to have some good conversations and tell them, well, I'm not, but I'm working on this project called Grandly, the Strategic Grandparents Club. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm directing this project. So to start with, that's my name. I know it's a little different, so my name is Pili, and I just wanted to put that out there because for you to remember that. As Henry was saying, I was born and raised in Mexico, and just for fun, two of the most interesting things that I've done in the past 6 months, one of them is skydiving. That was a lot of fun, and if you get to see that little number in there, it says 48, and that's because I went skydiving 48 days before I got married. And that's the second most interesting thing, well, the first most interesting thing I've done in the past 6 months. I got married to this wonderful man, and it's been a great 3 months. I come from a good Christian family back home. My parents raised myself and my brothers to be good Christians and to be disciples. And something that I did between high school and college is that I took a year off to volunteer. I did what I call a GAP program, a GAP year here in Lansing back in 2009 and 10. And there I got to serve with youth. When I was in high school, my life was impacted by lots of different people. Some of them were youth workers and some of them were not. What I know is that a young girl needs more than her parents to go through those years, and especially when you are establishing yourself as a Christian and where you're trying to grow and to build your faith. I know how good and how necessary, how helpful it is to have the right people in your life at the right time doing the right thing. I've both in my life been in the need of a youth worker or a person who could guide me, and I've also had the chance to be that for other people. Later in life, I became a volunteer in the same organization that I was part of as a teenager. And I graduated from college. I went off to building my career as an industrial engineering. I worked on my field for a while. I worked as a quality coordinator for a big industry back in Mexico. But I want to tell you, how did I go from working as an engineer to being the director of a grandparents project? As I mentioned, I'm there in my life working, building my engineering career, and then I go to this international youth conference in Costa Rica 3 years ago. And I'm there and I run into a man named Mike Shaughnessy. Some of you know him, and for those of you who don't, you'll have the chance to hear from him later. And he's an amazing man. He loves the Lord and he has devoted his life to building his kingdom and especially working with youth and finding new ways for youth to have an encounter with the Lord. We're there having lunch, catching up. I'm telling him what I'm doing. He's telling me what he's doing. And then he starts talking about this grandparents idea that he's had for a while. And the more I listen to him, the more interested I become and the more I love it. It was such a fresh idea, such an innovative idea, but mostly what struck me is that it was such a new way to do mission. It was such a new way to be in mission. It was a project that activated grandparents to have a key role in young people's lives. It was clever, and it was a way to put in place a new strategy to reach out to the young generations through grandparents. I thought I wanted to be part of that. That was my first thought, and as I'm sitting there, Mike says, well, I want to turn this from a normal lunch into your first job interview. And that was really shocking. I was not prepared for that. But I knew that I wanted to do something for young people. There were obvious obstacles. I had to change careers. That meant not working in engineering anymore. That meant other country, leaving my family, and that was quite hard. That meant working in English. And back then, it also meant, this 24-year-old girl working with grandparents. How does that look? Long story short, I prayed about it. I clearly saw God opening doors for me to do this, calling me to do this, and here I am. I moved to Michigan 2 years ago and started with Mike Granley, the Strategic Grandparents Club. I want to talk to you about the challenges, the need, and the solution. I am only in my 20s, late 20s, but I am the oldest grandchild in my family, both sides of the family. And it is really clear to me that my brothers and my siblings, my cousins, already faced challenges to their faith that I never had to face when I was in my childhood or when I was a teenager. The challenges are way greater and bigger right now. A few months ago, I was talking to a grandmother. We're just chatting, and she starts sharing with me where her grandchildren are at. Some of her grandchildren are doing well, and some of them are not. And she expresses her worries and just her frustration to me, the fact that sometimes she didn't know what to do. In her case, she's just sharing with me how some of her grandchildren are struggling with homosexuality, some others are not going to church, some others stop believing in God, some are living with a partner without being married. Some of her own children have gone through divorce, and that just has affected her grandchildren greatly. And she's realized that she's limited on what she can do, but she also decided that being limited didn't mean that she couldn't do anything. All of her grandchildren know well who Grandma is. They know that she has a faith, and they know that she prays, and they know that she prays for each of them. They know that there are certain ways of acting when they visit Grandma. They know that they don't swear when they're in Grandma's house, and they know that they pray before meals. So this is her way of witnessing. This is what she's decided that she can do. She knows that she can pray for them unconditionally and let them know that she's praying for them. And she knows that she can just be who she is and being witnessing through that. Grandparents struggle with these kind of situations all the time, situations that make them feel hopeless or that they don't know what to do. And that's not uncommon. In fact, I hear a lot of that when I talk to grandparents. What you can do in your own family will look different for everyone. It will depend on your reality, but the point is that you can always do something, and you need to find what that something is. Again, I see the big challenge, or how much the world is changing. What I went through when I was 17 has nothing to do with my soon-to-graduate from high school cousin is going through. What he listens to, what he sees, what they talk about in school. I think that we all can see that young people are at risk, that we all are at risk, and we live in a world that is constantly changing and that it's offering us many things, and that where everything is accepted, where we don't know where to trust or what to believe in. But I don't really want to spend you a lot of time telling you, this is what's going on out in the world, or these are the challenges. I think that you see them, I see them, and we all see them. But what I want to ask you is, what are we going to do about that? And my goal here is not to discourage you. My goal here is to tell you that we need you, that we young people need you, and your grandchildren need you. What do youth need? These are some of the things that I saw when I was doing youth work. I saw that young people need people that are convinced of the truth of the gospel and that are not afraid of sharing that. I saw that young people need people that they can trust and that can be active role models, people that can be disciples, people that generate strong culture, Christian culture, and healthy and loving environments for them. They need people of faith who care. So I saw some of these things provided when I was doing youth work, but I think that the key thing that I am seeing differently right now, and the thing that I want to say to you today, is that you can be that person. You can be that youth worker. They need you, someone that is close to them, someone that they know, someone that they trust, someone that they can relate to. They need grandparents that are active and that are strategic. You, grandparent, can be that youth worker. It doesn't always take, or it doesn't only take, a youth worker to impact your grandchildren's lives, but it does take grandparents who think the way youth workers do. Youth workers come and go that do have a big impact, but they come and go. Whereas you're going to be their grandfather or their grandmother for the rest of your life. You're going to be there from the time they're born to when they turn 5, when they become teenagers, to when they go off to college and more. One of our bylines in Granley is that we are recruiting 10,000 youth workers, all of whom are over the age of 55. And that is our goal. The need is for the right kind of grandparents who want to pass on their faith. And I'm going to refer now to Psalm 71. Even when I am old and gray, do not forsake me, O God, till I declare your power to the next generation, your might to all who are to come. We need grandparents who want to tell the next generation about God. Grandparents who want to tell the next generation about the great things that God has done for them. Grandparents who love God. We need grandparents who want to proclaim His might and His power to the next generation. This is the kind of grandparent that the psalm is talking about. And this is the kind of grandparent that God wants us all to be. And I include myself in that. Part of what I see here with this project, with this, it's not just a vision for my life right now, for where I am at right now. Right now, yes, I got married, want to be a good wife, learning that. I want to take the next step, hopefully, build a family, have kids. But what I see here is it's a vision, that it's bigger than that. I see a vision for the kind of grandmother that I want to be that one day. I want to be the kind of grandmother that stays active in passing on my faith to my children and my children's children. I want to be the kind of grandparent that impact my grandchildren, and hopefully that's why you are here today in this room too. Grandparents who have that zeal, who have that desire, become part of the solution. And let me tell you why. Grandparents are in the perfect position to do something. Grandparents are trusted. Your grandchildren are going to trust you. Grandparents aren't main authorities. They can be friends. That means that the grandparents are not the parents, and in fact, you shouldn't be the parent, but that doesn't mean you can't do something. You can be friend. Grandparents are every single step of the way there, as I mentioned before. Grandparents have wisdom and have knowledge. And I do want to say, because I would hear my grandma saying this sometimes, if you ever think that we young people are not interested in what you have to say, that is not true. We learn from you and we are interested. We need your knowledge. We need your wisdom in our lives. Grandparents are in the perfect position because they love. Grandparents love unconditionally. And that's what young people need. Grandparents pray, and we need a lot of prayers too. And grandparents can hope. They can hope for the young generations. Grandparents are in the perfect position to do something. What are the things that you can bring to the table in your own family, in your own grandchildren? And I want you to hold that thought or that question there. Throughout the conference, as you listen to the other talks, the workshops, and as you are in your small groups, what are the things that you can bring to the table? What are the things that you can do for your grandchildren? What we want to provide in Granley is a program that will impact the lives of the young. That's our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to reach young people with the gospel. And what makes Granley different from other amazing projects that exist as well with the same purpose is that we want to do this through grandparents, because we recognize the key role the grandparents have in bringing their grandchildren to the Lord. This is a program where grandparents can impact some of the people they love the most, and that's the grandchildren. But it's also a program where grandparents can be equipped and can build network with other grandparents. If you've ever been in the position where you say, I don't know what to do about this, well, I'm sure someone else has. I'm sure that someone might have gone through a similar thing that you did, and that could be the grandfather or the grandmother sitting next to you or behind you today. So we want a program that's going to build a network of support for grandparents, and that's going to equip them to pray, to think, and to act strategically in a way that their grandchildren will benefit. And how are we going to do this? This is a photo of our website. That's how our website looks, if you haven't had a chance to look at it. And our website is divided in two. Our website is divided in the Get Help area and the Give Help area. And it is really the simplest website ever. And that's not said by me, said by grandparents. It's very easy to navigate. And I just want to give you a quick overview of the Get Help area. The Get Help area has articles that are written by grandparents themselves, most of them, and they are motivational. There are testimonies and stories. tools you can use. That means ideas that you can implement in your own life with your grandchildren. There are articles about understanding youth, an area called expert advice. And when you sign up on our website, you register, you automatically get these articles every first and 15th of the month to your email. They're very short, and they don't take more than 5 minutes to read. The website and these articles are meant to motivate you, to instruct, to catalyze, and to inspire you to do something for your grandchildren, to spark a new idea in you. The other area in our Get Help menu are the conferences, just like this one. These conferences are meant to train, to inspire, to build networks and support, and I truly hope that you find that throughout today. There's also the Give Help area that I'm not going to go into today. I will cover a little later. And I'll jump to our purposes and hopes for today. We hope that you leave here changed, that you leave here inspired, that you leave here with hope. Just a little bit different, 1 or 2 things different that you can live with than from when you came in this morning at 9. We hope that you connect with other grandparents. Take advantage of this great setting, the fact that there are a lot of grandparents here that you can connect with. We hope that you leave here with 1 or 2 new things, new ideas that you can apply with your own grandchildren or even the parents of your grandchildren. Something that you can do in the next coming weeks. And here I want to say, take notes. As you listen to what's going to happen today, there is some paper, you have a Grandly pen, all of you. Take notes. Whenever, a new idea sparks in your mind, just write it down so you don't forget about it. And finally, we hope that you leave here today with a renewed faith. I just want to close with my grandma. My grandma turned 80 a couple of weeks ago, and my grandma has had a huge impact in my life, and not just mine, her own children as well, and my cousins, her grandchildren. My grandma is a very strong woman that has a very strong faith, and she has very high morals and values. She has a huge value for family unity, and that's how I would describe her in one sentence. She does simple but constant things to share her faith with us. She prays before meals. She is very faithful to church. She is very generous with her time and her resources, and she loves unconditionally, even when it is really hard. She has impacted my life, and I do learn from her a lot. But what I want to say here is, do not set yourself short as a grandparent. Do not set yourself short as a grandfather or as a grandmother. You can make a difference. And I am here because I know that that is true. I'm not standing here today as a grandmother telling you that that is true. I am standing here today as a granddaughter, as a grandchild that has experienced that is telling you that that is true, that you can have a big impact in your grandchildren's lives. Thank you so much.